What's an unspoken rule on a first date?
Story 1. Your phone is not part of the date.
Story 2. Don't drink too much.
Had a date like this. Within the first 90 minutes, they had taken like 3 shots, and were on their 3rd drink. I understand wanting to calm your nerves, but the whole you need to play over take isn't as cute as you think it is. We did not go on any other dates.
Seriously. I'm all for taking a single shot just to calm my nerves, but how the hell are you supposed to get to know someone when you're too drunk to remember the encounter? Recently had a very bad first date where this guy started dinner with 4 shots. He kept insisting on me having another drink because he was paying anyway. I set a solid limit of 2 drinks before I went out and told him this. I paid for my drinks and meal on principle. Made an excuse to get home early. Now he's having a conversation with himself in my DMs.
Story 3. Have a shower beforehand. And take it easy with the perfume. Your date shouldn't smell you before they see you. Your perfume should be an invitation, not an announcement.
Story 4. Don't order any extras plates to eat at home with your mom when the other is paying.
My husband said that years before he met me, he went on a lunch date with a girl. She wanted to go to Olive Garden, so he obliged. This girl had 4 bowls of the endless soup or whatever they call it, and then orders her entree to go because that's how you get me.
Story 5. Not a rule, but never make the other person carry the conversation. You're both here to make an effort and give each other the respect. If you both want different things, then let it be said after. No need to hurt someone's self-respect for your ego.
On our first date, my wife, married for 20 years now, had heard that the way you show interest in someone is to ask questions. Well, unfortunately, she didn't realize there's a difference between asking questions and interrogating a suspect. After 3 hours, she knew everything about me, and I knew absolutely nothing about her. If she had grabbed me by the collar and screamed, "Where are the rebel bases?" it wouldn't have been surprising.
Story 6. Don't go to the movies or a fancy dinner on your first date if you don't already know this person. The movies is a place where you sit in silence for 2 hours staring straight ahead. That does not give you any opportunity to get to know the other person. A sit-down dinner can be perfectly fine, but if you know within the first 10 minutes that you have no desire to spend any more time in this person's presence, you're stuck through the rest of the meal. First dates should always be intentionally short with an option to extend. Coffee, drinks, things that can turn into an hour of talking, or would you like to grab a bite to eat?
Unless you watch The Lord of the Rings, Extended Edition, then you can talk incessantly and impress her with your knowledge of The Lord of the Rings trivia. If she doesn't try to end the date early by faking her own passing, then marry her.
Story 7. Both should know it is a date.
My worst story. I knew another guy from work who asked me out on a double date with 2 women he knew. I am not much one for blind dates, but it seemed like fun. The women were nice, and all of us went out to a movie and dinner. I was trying to figure out which of the women was my date, when it suddenly dawned on me the middle of dinner that I had been missing something. The women were a couple, and I was the other guy's date. Clearly some signals had been missed here. I started blushing and then laughing, and I apologized, saying I was a very unaware straight guy. I am sure my gay friend was surprised and maybe a bit embarrassed too, but it made for a memorable evening out.
I met a woman at an out-of-town festival through a friend of mine that she was meeting up with. She is a traveling nurse and was going to be in my city in a few weeks, so we exchanged numbers, and when she gets in town she asked if I want to get some sushi. Happy to make a new friend, we meet up, talk a lot about my friend that she's meeting up with, telling funny stories about him. Eventually it comes up that I'm leaving the next day for a 3-week trip to Europe with my girlfriend, and she screams, "I thought this was a date." Really awkward.
Story 8. Don't be on your phone the whole time. And don't talk about your ex.
On my first date with my boyfriend in 2022, we went to a restaurant that had QR code menus, aka you pull it up on your phone. So I sit down, scan the thing, and am scrolling through the menu on my phone while still chatting with him. After a few minutes he goes, "What are you looking at your phone?" in a kind of bothered tone, and I'm like, "The menu," and show him my screen. He had never been to a restaurant with a QR code menu before, so he thought I was being rude and just playing on my phone. I still feel so bad about it.
Story 9. If you don't know the person very well, then for the first date, go for coffee or ice cream. Do not go out for something that takes long, because if you realize within the first 5 minutes you don't like them, it will be hard for you to escape. If you like them, you can then suggest doing something longer.
Told a guy from a dating app that I didn't like movies for the first date for those exact reasons, and also because for the first date you should be getting to know each other to see if the relationship is worth pursuing, which is impossible to do in a theater. He insisted on going to the movies as a first date. I went along with it because he were from different towns and meeting in between in a town I wasn't familiar with, so I didn't know what other options we really had. Guy ended up just wanting to make out the whole time. Had to wait out the entire movie to make a casual run for it. He did not get a second date. He was decently nice, from what I found in the little time we actually had to chat. Just not at all what I was looking for, since I like to take things more slowly.
Story 10. If you're asking someone out on a date, be prepared to pay for both of you, and then offer to pay for both of you. If they insist on paying, then fine, but be prepared to pay regardless. If someone asks you out on a date, or on any kind of outing, romantic or platonic, always assume that they're not paying for you. Make sure you can afford your side of the date and actually try to pay for it. If they plan on paying, they'll let you know, especially if they see you pull out your wallet. Some men, stop freaking out when women insist on paying for things, or even just for their side of the date. It's not an insult to your masculinity. Your partner is your equal, not your child. You are still 100% a man if you're not the one financially taking care of every little thing. There's a difference between being a gentleman and being patronizing and controlling. Some women, men don't have to pay for every single thing, or even most things. This is an outdated way of thinking and a dumb tradition at the literal expense of men. It's okay to accept their offers to pay for something every once in a while, especially on the first date, but it's not okay to do it every single time, nor is it okay to expect men to pay as a default. We say we deserve equal treatment, let's act like it. This is getting embarrassing.
Story 11. Be honest with them about what your intentions are. One-time meeting? Long-term dating? Are you looking to eventually settle down? Do an activity that gives you the opportunity to talk with the other person and really get to know them. Something like a cooking class or a pottery paint night are great for this. You have other stuff going on that there is less pressure to constantly be bringing up topics to have a conversation. You have to talk with your date about cooking, and gives you something to coordinate together. You get to find out if they like to be in charge or always need someone to guide them. Of course, conversation is easy if you hit it off. Don't be afraid to give detail and more in-depth conversation, but don't dominate the conversation and leave no room for them to say anything. Just don't give short answers to everything. Put in the effort. If it doesn't work out in the end, just be honest with them and be respectful of them and their time and wishes.
Story 12. Don't excuse yourself to go to the bathroom and then accidentally think about your ex while in there, have to fight back tears, and then come back to the table after way too long, with puffy red eyes. Whoops.
I have a friend that this happened to. He had just finished divorcing his wife of 15 years. He said that sitting in that chair on that date really made it clear that his relationship was over, and it finally got to him.
Story 13. Don't unload on your date about your trauma. Keep that under secret until at least date 5. Be yourself, unless your whole personality teeters on your traumatic history. In that case, self-deprecating humor will suffice until you can successfully abandon all hope and sit in your car for an hour to cry afterward.
Talking about your life with somebody else sometimes crosses that line. I don't know about unloading something onto anyone. I feel like with enough tact you can talk about major events in your life without making it uncomfortable for the other. I rather share what happened in my life and give the other person an opportunity to share as well, because sometimes exactly that is the common ground it needs for people to drop their act. I hate that masquerade on dates. I want to see the real you. And that includes that bad part has happened to you.